So check it out. This is going to be our home away from home tonight. Living in a van. You are watching the Nutnfancy project. What do you think about this location? Cool? I think so. In fact, I want to camp right in this parking lot. If I can. Commando 2 right there. How many cars do you see here? You're the only one, Nutnfancy. That's correct. Now, granted, we are in the middle of the week. During the weekend, you'd have a lot more cars here at this certain location. But right now, I own it. I'll have to check to see what the campground regulations are. They do vary a lot, campground to campground. So perhaps this is a day parking area only, and they want all the campers to be down here. There's usually some pretty good reasons for that, because they've had problems usually. And I'll just surmise a couple of them. For one, people who overnighted here could have left garbage here. They could have dumped sewage there and other stupid stuff where they go, you know what, we got to control it better. And that's kind of how it usually goes in society. So they create more rules and regulations. So I would love to sleep right here though. It's a perfect location. It's kind of elevated, great views. I got freaking birds as neighbors right here. Check that. I wonder what kind of birdhouse that is, by the way. I haven't seen any come and go. I'm hoping bluebird. Love mountain bluebirds. By the way, check out this sticker. Warning, 24-hour video surveillance. And no, that doesn't mean I'm standing out here holding my camera all the time. But I do want the people who come across this van, when I'm not there especially, to kind of have a pause and go, hey, maybe, just maybe he has a video system watching me right now. Of course, where I park this at times, there is, like everywhere in society, 100% video surveillance, either from the company or whatever. But I do put it on there, one, because it's funny, and two, I want to have them think about it before they mess with this van. Welcome to the segment on weapons and, I guess, tools and security with Commando 2, living in a van, kind of liking it. If you've been watching the Nutnfancy project for about 2 years or more, this is the van that got broken into in California, in case you're wondering. They came in, I was parked at a hotel, I was not sleeping in the van at the time. Bad guy breaks this window, which has been replaced, goes in and starts ransacking the whole front of the vehicle. He got in my equipment bin right here, stole a bunch of knives, stole a lot of stuff that was up here. Fortunately, he was in a rush, so he didn't get to the back of the van where I have my real tools and stuff, and so this was preserved. So when we talk about security, we're talking about, number one, losing stuff, getting robbed, probably the most probable. How do we minimize that? One is situational awareness, parking in good areas if you can. But another thing is taking steps to prepare for that incident and maybe handle it if and when you have to. And let me talk about prevention first. That night when I parked Commando 2, by the way, it wasn't all tricked out like it is now. I mean, clean, lowered, and all that. That was prior to me doing all the work on it. I didn't really have a choice. I didn't want to spend a lot of money on the hotel. So the hotel I was at was like $53 a night. You get what you pay for. It was in kind of a bad neighborhood. I had stayed there before and I never had a problem. That night I had a problem. Hotel, by the way, did buy another window. That was cool. But it started, you know, putting me to thought, how can I prevent this? The first thing I did when I fixed Commando 2 up is I put an alarm in them. Now, I'm not a big fan of alarms because sometimes they false, but with this system and what, you know, I want it to do, and more importantly, the amount of money and time it will take me to fix it if it's broken into, put an alarm in it. So I went on Amazon, I ordered whatever that is, X9 Plus, had it professionally installed. The guy actually did a good job because it hasn't falsed at all. Oh yeah, it's a Viper. So I have a Viper alarm system in here. The auto locks on this Astro van, remember I told you the door suck, don't work. So it doesn't automatically unlock and lock the van. I wish it did, but it doesn't. But it's wired into all the major exits, entrances, it has a shock sensor on it. And my key fob, you see right here, arms and disarms it. So if I arm it, disarm it, And then I have, you know, a panic button here if I want to sound it. I do have a backup alarm in it. In other words, if they cut the main siren, it'll go off. That is step one of security. I recommend to have an alarm. By the way, there's my thermometer before I forget that I installed. Speaking of modifications, it's wired through here. It's an aquarium thermometer I got off eBay because this is old enough where it doesn't have it. And then my sensor pickup is, oh, right there. It is now 54 degrees. Awesome. Yeah, so alarm. If you have a newer vehicle that has one built in, great, you don't have to do it. But like I said, an older van like this, or if you opt to go with a pickup truck with a camper shell on it, you might think about putting it in. Okay, that's security. Another thing that I do for security, and this is going to be kind of, well, as I'm known for, off the wall, but effective, is take certain ridiculous steps to prevent another break-in. And one way I do that, and I need to get into this equipment bin anyhow, is to put, you're not going to believe this, but it's true, fake poop on the dash. What? That's crazy. Well, it may be, but I've never been messed with since I've started doing that. So I'll park the van, put a little piece of plastic doo-doo. Yes, I ordered it off Amazon. And I haven't had a problem. And that was before the alarm. Now I have an alarm, fake poop. Awesome. I'll just leave it at that. I recommend it. I mean, it's very cheap insurance. Now, if we morph into self-protection, a lot of it's going to depend on what state you're driving into, what the laws are. I will say frequently I have no gun whatsoever in this van because I cannot legally have it. So I just obey the law. I'm a law-abiding citizen. That's just the way it is. If you want to do something different, I say rock on. That is your decision. But the state I'm in now, I can have a taser. So I have a taser. Non-lethal, or I should say less than lethal option. Tasers are cool. I do have utility knives. There's my original Delica in there. That's usually stored, by the way, right here, along with a Quark, the old 4.7's Quark 123. Light, that goes here. Here, I have some electrical tape right here. Speaking of tools, I use both the white electrical tape for labeling, the black electrical tape for various reasons, my pen. And then I have a little pocket thing right here. Almar Eagle. Right here, and another, this is actually a Wagner, really old Swiss Army knife. So I have that there. Battery charger for the S20 O-Light flashlight, right? That's for air pressure, keeping my tires inflated. I got some lotion, extra batteries, dental floss. This isn't really tools or weapons, but just battery sensor or tester and some other crap in there. The main thing is the taser, non-lethal. Now, you saw earlier that in some locations I will have pepper spray clipped on the side of the van, just like that. If I go to a place where it's illegal, I won't have it. I'll take it out. We'll just say leave it on the side of the road temporarily. And that's nice because if I'm sleeping with this open, that's really handy. So if a certain individual decides to get aggressive with me, it's within arm's reach, hand's reach. And it is bear spray, technically speaking. And I think I've had this canister for a long time. I just found this mount for it and mounted it right here on the side panel. It works great. So really easy to take off. I'm using my offhand, of course. Pop off the safety. And beware of the wind direction when you spray it so it doesn't come back into your face. And lo and behold, you've thwarted an attack, hopefully. Now, none of this stuff will guarantee you to have complete and utter unassailable personal safety. It won't happen. It's the best you can do. Now, some of you guys may be watching this video and you perhaps wanted me to make it a bug out van video, talking about survival vans, heavy armament, maybe ballistic protection. Let me talk about that just for a second. Talking about what is a bug out van, in this case, what is a bug out vehicle? I think a lot of people have the perception that a bug out vehicle is something that is jacked up, definitely four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, heavily armed, painted black, painted gray, camouflage, big old push bar on the front of it. You get the picture. That's not what this van is about. This is a rule of law, living quarters van set up to support, I don't know, in this case, motorcycle adventuring. Now, part of that formula is having tools and weapons as needed according to law, which I can use to protect myself. That is completely different from a lot of people's perception of bug out van or vehicle, whatever you want. I think a lot of people don't really put a lot of thought into this. They just talk like you see on the internet all the time, just talk out their ass and say, well, I'm going to put a vehicle together like this. They never really do it. They don't pay the bills that will be rolling in to create a vehicle like that. And they don't really absorb the reality of how difficult it is. I'll give you an example. Let's take this van. It's an Astro van, right? I have no ballistic protection on it whatsoever. Basically, all I have is the sheet metal exterior. I have a window right here. How tough is this? I mean, you could Swiss cheese this thing with a Ruger 1022. How much money, how much weight would I have to add to prevent that, to up armor an Astro van? See what I mean? A lot of people talk out their ass on the internet saying, oh man, you need to do this, you need to do that. You don't know what you're talking about. One, it would take panels upon panels of heck, 1/4-inch steel, 1/2-inch steel, adding hundreds of pounds of weight to the vehicle. If you wanted to use a Kevlar ballistic material, you'd have to line all these doors. They'd all have to be cut out specifically. They are still heavy. If you don't believe me, go look up the weight added to an up-armored Humvee in the day. It added a lot of weight. They lost mobility. They lost fuel economy. Adding all that weight will completely change a vehicle's handling. You have to change the suspension. You couldn't lower it like I have now. It's honestly, it's just ridiculous. And that's not the only reason, because even though you have all, let's say you just do it perfectly, that this is a completely ballistic proof van. We're just fantasizing here. That I even have bulletproof windows, let's say. That won't happen, but let's just say I do. Do you think that is going to protect you from getting overran? Do you think you are totally assured in your personal safety because you've gone to all this expense? No. You still run rubber tires, right? If someone knows you're up armored, right, all they have to do is deflate your tires. Yeah, but I'm going to get run flats. Okay, more money, a lot more money, and not realistic. And again, you're talking out your ass. You're not going to do that. You're just talking on the internet for free. But let's pretend you do. You have run flats. You can still get destroyed. This is still a rubber tired vehicle, and it's easy to disable such. I mean, look at these. Can you drive over that with a van? Well, my all-wheel drive truck can. Well, will you have enough fuel to get where you're going? Probably not. But every vehicle can get disabled, and that was proven over and over again in Iraq. A lot of up-armored vehicles with VIP transport were discovered, and under heavy fire, they just withered and died. All the guys were completely aced. That Helveston case comes to mind. They were in some up-armored, I think, Suburbans, and bad guys just had some RPKs, lit them up. But they were completely ballistically protected, and they still went down. The point of this discussion is be realistic. Understand the thousands upon thousands of dollars you would have to spend to create a system like that, for one. And two, even if you did have it, it would be no assurance of you being completely safe. So I say be realistic, man. Don't put ballistic protection in it. I wouldn't say I haven't traveled with some certain guns in certain states where it's legal. I mean, I've had the SIG MCX in here, AR-15s. Not so much for personal protection, but just as I come across a place in remote areas where I'm just kind of planking away, having fun, doing some run and gun testing maybe. So it supported TMP functions. I mean, this is a great place to store guns and hang them. But generally speaking, when I travel, I won't show you, but I'll carry just a pistol, taser, pepper spray, and I'll have some knives on board. Just like this little one right here. Your key thing to staying safe, though, is situational awareness and avoidance, right? Mobility. So we're talking firepower versus mobility. Again, see how this always comes into play? It's better to avoid. So do you need to integrate an AR-15, a bunch of, you know, magazines and ammunition in your van? No. Especially in rule of law. Now, if this had to go into without rule of law, where there are no emergency services, that standard laws are pretty much null and void, and it's kind of a very high threat situation, then I would morph this more into a more heavily armed, not armored because it's too late for that. I'm not going to put steel on the side of it, but a more heavily armed option where I'll have some of the guns that I've reviewed over the years here with me up front. Again, I'm trying to avoid, but if I can't extricate myself from the situation, the best defense is a good offense, and the firepower would come out then in that without rule of law situation. But day by day as I go, for weapons, honestly, it's pretty minimal. That will take us to tools. And they are extensive in this, right now, motorcycle support system in Commando 2. Here's my tool chest, by the way. And that's where I carry it. One reason is because since it's lowered, I don't want weight in the back where that back end is bouncing. It works best keeping all my weight up here in the center part. Have stainless steel screws, butane torch, electrical connectors. I do wiring all the time. All the lighting projects you've seen on some of the motorcycles were done right out of the van. Wire cutters, sharp nose pliers, hex wrenches. Can't open this all the way and still film, but you'll get the picture on the van's tool chest. Metric SAE wrenches. There's my drill right here. Excellent Black & Decker rechargeable batteries, and you get some more stuff down there, tool chest, and it's easily accessible on the side of the cot, and I do get into it all the time. So this Black & Decker, I think it's a 12-volt driver drill, is recharged at hotels, usually with that recharger I showed you in the other segment. However, I do have a way to recharge it while I'm boondocking. And it also goes into how I make your videos when I'm on the road, actually, because it's the same power source. And I guess I'll show it to you in this segment super quick. I did put a pure sine wave static inverter into the van. There's my negative and positive wires coming up through the bottom. All this work was done by myself, and there is my inverter mounted under the passenger seat. My turn on switch for it is right here. The car has to be running for it to work. Let's see where, there you go, you can see here. So I turn it on, and we'll go. If I overpower this, it will give me a buzz. It'll kind of beep at me and say, oh, it's too much amperage. The vacuum will do that, and so will some high load things like the water heater. I can't run them. Just low things like battery chargers, computers, external hard drives. All this will run off of that. Here's my power distribution strip for it. Right there. Let me show you super quick how I wired it, because it was a total headache. I can't lie. Let's see, can you see under here? Let's see where I drilled it. There you go, right there. See that? I ran the wires as big as I could get away with, so I reduce amperage loss. Now this is a Chevrolet Astro van, and there's really a lot down here, surprisingly. So routing these wires from where you saw them come through into the passenger compartment up through the engine compartment was a total pain. I might have some pictures that I took when I did that project. Having AC power in your van or whatever you want to use, your pickup truck, is a big plus. Let's see if I can show it to you here. This was giving me problems earlier, and it looks like it's going to do it again. I cannot release my hood. That sucks. It may have come detached down here. Welcome to an old van. Darn it. So I'm just gonna have to show you a picture. I think I did take some. I just tie into the battery here. Cables run on the firewall like this. There's a big fuse distribution box right here. Then I shoot down, go underneath, up through the floor. There you go. But having that electricity is nice, and believe it or not, this seat that I'm showing you right now is where more than a few TMP videos were made. Don't believe me? Here's my laptop right there. Boom. Just edit them right here. Plug in my hard drives. They'll be stacked right there. There I'll sit editing your videos in a van down by the river. Let's wrap it up. Weapons, security, and tools living in a van. You know, I could bore you guys and go through tool by tool on a box, but you can see some of them here, and I briefly showed you before. For instance, these. Why would I have these? For fishing wires through motorcycles as I wire lights, other things. Super handy. Again, and anybody who's a tool person, like guys watching this video, will know exactly what I'm talking about. Your toolbox, your tool selection morphs over time. You just learn what you need, what works, and if you're like me, you get rid of the crappy tools and you upgrade the quality of your tools over time. As long as it makes sense. For instance, this is not, you know, the cheapest set of sharp nose pliers of this size. These are made by Great Neck, but man, are they excellent. Work great. Same with my wire cutters. I love these wire cutters right here. You guessed it, got them off Amazon. What do they call them? Kinepex. These are just excellent. I showed you the oil changing supplies in the storage video. Don't forget about that. I have certain motorcycle specific tools in the bin below. I showed you electronics bin back here earlier, and that about completes it, which is actually pretty impressive, honestly. For a little minivan that I have all that capability, I basically have the capability to do, and I'm talking the tool selection, not anything else, pretty involved mechanical work. I can take, you know, the wheels off, I can get in the engine, do a lot of engine work. I have the electrical driver drill, that Black & Decker, I can drill. I can, you know, spin off nuts and bolts. I have replacement screws. Again, over time, I've just learned what I needed. Remember what I said about the weapons and security. First and foremost, you're not a tank rolling around. Don't be too heavy, too expensive. It is unrealistic. Avoid. Be smart, use situational awareness, and do everything in your power to de-escalate a conflict. That is the #1 way to prevent problems and to maximize security of your little minivan, right? If you have to, though, you can integrate some of the less than lethal options that I've shown. Maybe you integrate a pistol. Go look into my playlist. I have several that I love that have traveled with me, to include Glock, Smith & Wesson, Canic, Walther options that are integrated according to the laws of the states that you travel through. Whew, lots to say. Maybe one more segment left. This is an Nutnfancy project, living in a van and actually loving it. See ya.